power lock is a core practice that transmutes aroused sexual energy at the point of high sexual excitation to start generating full body orgasm states. What's up, guys? I'm Jonathan White. I'm here to help you master your sexual energy so you can manifest your ideal life. If you want to learn more about sexual and self-mastery, make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon to stay notified when I release new videos and go live. Make sure you get my free ejaculation control course to up your sexual game. There's a link in the video description below. This video, we're going to get right into the power lock practice. This is a tantric technique. Well, this version integrates, kind of tantric Taoist traditions and how we work with the energetics, blah, blah, blah. It's a powerful exercise that will transmute your sexual energy, specifically used for aroused sexual energy. So the typical thing here is that we experience orgasm as a buildup of excitation in the body, right? That creates a pulsation. Well, for ejaculatory orgasm, basically, it's a tension response, building up pressure in the sexual center and the sexual organs. And specifically for men, the pelvic floor, the prostate area starts to tense up. It's like a spring getting loaded. And once that hits its maximum capacity, it starts pumping fluid out. And we experience that as an ejaculatory orgasm. Now, something else we can do instead of just allowing that to build up until it goes off and we ejaculate and lose our energy is to draw that sexual pressure, to give it another pathway to be experienced and expressed in, so that instead of building up to an ejaculation, we diffuse the sexual charge through the entire body, which initially creates, the orgasm isn't initially as intense, but we can keep going and going and going, doing it over and over and over again, charging the body up with that energy, then going about our day in a very creative and charged up state. So the basic premise of this practice is that we want to do it at a point of, at any time during sexual arousal. In the beginning, it's going to be better. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, you're at a very not really aroused at all, 10 being you're at the point of ejaculation, you're ejaculating. To be honest, that's more of a tension scale than like an actual arousal scale. I explained that in another video, but for most men, I think this is understandable. Basically, you want to do this around a 6 or a 7 initially, because for a lot of men, you're ingrained in these old habits of getting close to ejaculating and just going for it. And there's also a big misunderstanding here that these type of techniques are meant to be done basically when you're ejaculating. Like you hit the point of no return and then magically you transform that orgasm from being ejaculatory to non-ejaculatory. That's impossible. There's common techniques taught about this, like the $1 million point or like just squeezing and holding, trying to do a power lock at that point. The majority of the time, you simply have a retrograde ejaculation, which means that the semen's going into the bladder. If you've hit the point of no return, you've gone too far. Ejaculatory orgasm, we're not trying to go that direction. We want to go in a different direction altogether. So we never hit the point of no return. Just some important contextual stuff here. So what you're going to do, practice this alone initially. I recommend, unless you have a partner who's really willing to try this stuff out with you, that's cool. But for most people, you don't want to have technique invade your intimacy. So it's important that you get familiar with this on your own. Basically, what you're going to do is stimulate yourself. I recommend slowly building up your arousal scale. If you just go straight from 0 to 9 out of 10, you're programming your body to reach ejaculation very quickly. Don't do that. Stay relaxed. Don't squeeze your pelvic floor muscles. This is a different approach that I take from what a lot of people teach. I don't encourage Kegels. I don't encourage clenching the pelvic floor during sex. This accelerates the sympathetic fight or flight response, your stress response to sex, which creates ejaculation. That becomes stronger when you're squeezing your pelvic floor during sex. We want to avoid that entirely. I talk about that in other videos. So basically, get to a 6 or 7. You're fairly aroused. You're not about to ejaculate. There's no urgency. You shouldn't be trying to stop yourself from ejaculating. If you're doing that, you've gone too far. The whole thing is never reaching it in the first place. And that's when you're going to stop stimulation and do the technique. I recommend you do it sitting as I am. You can be sitting on a chair, whatever, doesn't matter. But I recommend you do this sitting up, first of all. So stop stimulation, sit down if you're standing up, whatever, get into position, and you're going to do this exact technique. The first step, we're going to do 9, you can do more, you can do 18, but just for simplicity's sake, we'll do 9 breaths. Rather intensely, breathing in and out of the belly, like this. Really fill up and empty your lungs. We're gonna do that 9 times. Again, you can do it more, that'll make it more powerful, but for this video, 9 times. And then you're going to exhale out all of your air. Hold the breath out for a moment, and then inhale. Mostly filling the lungs, maybe about 80% of your lung capacity. And this is the important part. You hold the breath and think of pushing the diaphragm down a little bit. What does that mean? Basically trying to stick your belly out. So if I'm holding my breath, I take a breath in and I push the belly so it sticks out a little bit. I don't know if that's, you can really see that, if that makes sense, but hold the breath. Yeah, just think of trying to stick the belly out and push it down. And mentally, we're going to bring our awareness into the dantian, basically to the belly center. If you haven't worked with the dantian, basically just the center of the belly. Hold your awareness in there, and we're going to create a vacuum in there with our mind that's going to pull the sexual energy in there. And we're going to experiment with a couple of different ways of doing this. So that's the technique. I don't know, that's about it. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's do it. 9 times, 9 breaths, exhale all the air, inhale deeply, hold the breath, power lock, baby. Okay, here we go. 9 breaths. Oh, and obviously, we're trying it unaroused first. Definitely practice this unaroused, and then you can try doing it with some arousal. Here we go. 9 breaths. Deep breath in. Exhale entirely. Hold the breath out for a few seconds. Then breathe in. Hold the breath. Think of pushing the belly down. You can even tuck the chin down a little bit if you want. Just think of pushing the belly down. And now put the mind in the dantian, the belly, and imagine there's a vacuum there. It's sucking into it. And feel like especially it's sucking from the testicles, from the penis, just sucking into it. Keep that going as you hold the breath. There's a black hole in your lower belly. It's just pulling everything into it from the sexual center. Hold as long as you can. Then we need to exhale. Let out kind of a sigh. All right. How'd that feel? Hopefully pretty good. Round 2, we're going to do just a little bit of a variant on this. We're going to use a spiraling engagement now. So everything's going to be exactly the same, but just think of there being like this ball, like there's a ball in your belly, and it's rotating like up the back, down the front, forward, like this, back to front. So you're feeling that spinning, spiraling, and also feel like it's creating a vacuum pulling energy into it. Don't worry about it now. We'll explain more, but just that's what you're doing, okay? Here we go. 9 breaths. Deep breath in. Exhale all your air. Hold the breath out. Now inhale about 80%. Hold the breath. Push the belly down. Tuck the chin if you want. And now mind in the dantian. Imagine this ball spinning, spinning, spinning. Really, really bringing awareness of spinning there and the suction, like it's pulling. It's pulling the sexual energy forcefully out of the genitals, out of the testicles, out of the penis, just sucking it up in there. Hold that as long as you can. That's a power lock. So may feel a little bit awkward at first. Again, you're gonna have to practice several times. You want this to feel very comfortable. So you're not like, wait, I was doing this, now I'm doing it. Like, no, practice it. Go through this video a few times. This is high level stuff. And then try doing it when you're aroused. So again, self-stimulating, building up some arousal, and then stop and do the power lock into the belly. You know that you're successful because your erection subsides. Your feeling of arousal should lower significantly. You can do a couple in a row just to like really pull the energy out. That's how you start working with it. And as you get familiar and comfortable with this practice, you can start to go a little bit closer to, higher levels of sexual excitement before you do the practice. But in the beginning, it's best to stay at like 6, 7, maybe an 8 at the very most. But when you get really comfortable and your willpower builds where you're not just gonna allow yourself to go over into ejaculation and you really know where your edge is, like where just a bit more stimulation will push you over the edge, you can play with being at these higher levels of arousal. But let me tell you, when you really nail this practice, you're at higher arousal, really intense breathing, even do 18, 36 breaths, whatever, and you do the power lock, full body orgasm, baby. It's amazing. Practice that. Have fun. I teach much more advanced versions of this in my Multi-Orgasmic Man course where you charge up the organs, the glands, the brain. But this is a really good starting point. You want to start with the dantian. You don't want to start with shoving aroused sexual energy up into your brain. We want to start with the dantian center. Start with the grounded centers first. Enjoy. Please give this video a like, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content like this. And let me know in the comments below, how did this practice go for you? And let me know any topics you'd like me to cover in future videos. Have a great day, my friends.